President Trump currently leads Vice President Harris in the state. To make sure things are on the up and up this election season, both parties are actually calling on a return to paper-marked ballots. In a report by the Federalist, the Morgan County Democratic Party actually submitted a petition to the state election board to return to a traditional way of paper-marked ballots before a machine interprets the vote. The concern stems from a disconnect between the computer and the voter themselves, with the computer not always matching up with the voter's intent or selection. Republicans in the state are arguing for the same, a rare moment of bipartisan consensus. So joining us now is Brianna Lyman from the Federalist to break down this development. Brianna, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Where has this come from? Where does the story come from? How have the Democrats all of a sudden risen up, and why are they concerned about paper ballots now?
Yeah, I think this is, like you said, a rare show of bipartisanship, especially in Georgia. And to understand this, in Georgia, what they use is BMD systems, which are ballot marking devices. So after 2019, the state adopted a system in which a voter goes to the voting poll and they cast their vote on a touch screen. That touch screen then prints out both a summary and a QR code. The problem that both the Democrats and Republicans are saying now is that that system is open to vulnerabilities, right? It could be tampered with. And it's not just partisan political groups saying this, right? This is CISA, which CISA is the nerve center of government censorship operations, and I would argue is more left-wing. But even CISA said to Georgia back in 2021 and 2022, look, these concerns are valid. You have to put in certain security patches to fix that. Brad Raffensperger never did that. And so what Democrats and Republicans are saying is, look, we don't mind using the system still. All we're saying is that rather than casting your vote on a tablet, first hand mark your ballot and then put it in that system. They just want a paper trail or a paper record of voter intent.
Well, based on the people you've spoken to, based on your work on this story, how do you think this actually affects President Trump and Vice President Harris in this race? Who would this favor more in the state of Georgia?
Well, I think it favors both candidates. If you go back to, I think it was this past November in Northampton, Pennsylvania, they don't use the same brand of systems, but they use a similar system. And what happened is that voters, they were looking over their printed summary and they said, wait a second, I voted yes on this question, but this says I voted no. So it was a human error, at least that's what they tell us, that flipped the votes. And what the election officials said is, oh, don't worry, we have a process, we'll just flip them backwards. And so as a result of that, there are serious questions of what could happen in Georgia when it comes to whether or not that benefits Donald Trump or benefits Kamala Harris. I think the real question is, the real point is, it benefits the voter. The voter can have confidence in knowing that this voting machine has captured their vote accurately and the way that they intended it to. And if it didn't, they have a paper record of their actual voter intent to say this is wrong.
Brianna, based on your work in this story, how likely is it that the entire state will listen to this one request? Because ultimately, from what I've gathered from your article, it sounds like this is one county, one group that is calling for this. How likely is this to spread between now and November?
Yeah, so actually there's another county Democrat group that has also apparently sent a letter to the state election board. They refuse to talk to the Federalist because they don't want to talk to conservatives, which is unfortunate, but let them do that. You also have, John Barrow, who's a former state rep or Democratic representative, who also sent a letter to the state election board. Now, there is a Georgia meeting going on today in the state election board. It's still going on now. And they heard Jean Dufort and Marilyn Marks, who works for the Coalition of Good Governance, they heard their petition this morning. I believe that petition didn't go through, but there are still 2 other petitions that will be heard at a future board meeting at the end of this month. So there is still a chance. I don't think it's actually likely that this will happen, especially because Raffensperger had 3 years to put security patches in. He didn't do it. So it'd be a little odd for me to think that he didn't want to do security patches for 3 years, but 2 months out of an election, he's going to tell all counties, we're going to paper ballots.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.